What would you do if your mother sold your deceased grandmother's precious ring to fund your sister's luxury honeymoon, then had the audacity to ask for your forgiveness when you discovered the betrayal? This is the story of how I learned that some family betrayals cut so deep, they force you to rebuild your entire understanding of love, loyalty, and what it truly means to protect yourself from the people who claim to care about you most. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. My name is Rebecca Chen, and at 31 years old, I had constructed what appeared to be a perfectly balanced life in the bustling city of Austin, Texas. From the outside, everything seemed to align with the traditional markers of success and stability that society teaches us to pursue. I worked as a senior marketing coordinator for a respected technology firm, lived in a modest but comfortable apartment in the trendy South Lamar district, and maintained what I believed were strong family relationships built on mutual support and genuine affection. However, beneath this carefully maintained exterior lay a complex web of financial obligations and emotional dependencies that had gradually transformed me from a beloved daughter and sister into what I would eventually recognize as the family's primary source of financial stability and crisis management. This transformation had occurred so gradually, with such subtle increments of increased responsibility and expectation, that I had never paused to examine whether the relationships I was nurturing were actually healthy or sustainable for any of the people involved. The foundation of my false security rested upon a series of assumptions about family dynamics that had never been explicitly discussed or agreed upon, but had evolved through years of small decisions and accommodations that seemed reasonable in isolation, but had accumulated into a system of dependency that served everyone except me. I had learned to measure my worth within the family structure by my ability to solve problems, provide resources, and maintain harmony during times of crisis or conflict. This pattern had established itself during my college years when I worked part-time jobs to supplement my academic scholarships, and discovered that I could occasionally help my younger sister Melissa with expenses that exceeded her budget. What began as sharing textbook costs and occasional restaurant meals had gradually expanded to include more substantial financial contributions that helped Melissa navigate the social and academic pressures of university life without the stress of financial limitation. Melissa, 3 years younger than me, possessed a vibrant personality and social confidence that I had always admired, but she had never developed the same systematic approach to financial planning and resource management that had characterized my own development. Her approach to money reflected an optimistic assumption that resources would be available when needed, whether through family assistance, unexpected opportunities, or simply the general benevolence of the universe toward people with positive attitudes and good intentions. Our parents, David and Linda Chen, had immigrated to the United States from Taiwan when I was 8 years old, and Melissa was 5, carrying with them the determination and work ethic that had enabled them to build successful careers in their adopted country while maintaining strong connections to their cultural heritage and extended family networks. My father had established himself as a respected engineer with a major aerospace corporation, while my mother had built a thriving accounting practice that served both individual clients and small businesses throughout the Austin metropolitan area. The financial stability that my parents had achieved through decades of careful planning and hard work had created an environment where Melissa and I could pursue our educational and professional goals without the acute financial pressure that many first-generation American families experience. However, this security had also fostered different approaches to money management between my sister and myself, with Melissa developing an expectation that financial challenges would be resolved through family resources rather than individual problem-solving. During our respective college experiences, I had approached every financial decision with careful consideration of long-term implications and alternative options, often working additional hours or seeking creative solutions to avoid burdening my parents with expenses that I could manage independently. Melissa, by contrast, had learned to present financial challenges to the family as shared problems that required collective solutions, an approach that seemed reasonable given our family's financial capacity, but gradually established patterns of dependency that would prove problematic in later years. The transition from college to professional life had presented both Melissa and me with opportunities to establish financial independence and develop the money management skills that would serve us throughout our adult lives. I had approached this transition with systematic planning, creating budgets that prioritized debt reduction and savings while allowing for modest entertainment and personal development expenses. My approach reflected both my natural inclination toward careful planning and my desire to honor the sacrifices my parents had made to support my education. Melissa's approach to post-college financial management reflected her more optimistic and socially oriented personality, with spending patterns that prioritized experiences, relationships, and immediate enjoyment over long-term financial security. While her approach was not inherently problematic, it created periodic situations where her expenses exceeded her income, particularly during times when her freelance graphic design work experienced seasonal fluctuations or when unexpected opportunities for travel or social activities exceeded her planned budget. The family dynamics that had emerged around these different approaches to money management created a system where I gradually became the person everyone turned to when financial challenges arose. My parents appreciated my responsible approach to money and often sought my advice about investment decisions or major purchases. Melissa learned that I could be relied upon to provide assistance during temporary financial shortfalls, whether through direct loans or by covering shared expenses during family gatherings or celebrations. What I failed to recognize during these early years of gradual increased responsibility was that my willingness to provide financial assistance and problem-solving support was inadvertently preventing other family members from developing their own capabilities for managing financial challenges and making difficult decisions about priorities and trade-offs. My helpfulness, while motivated by genuine love and desire to contribute to family harmony, was creating dependency patterns that would ultimately prove harmful to everyone involved. The professional success I achieved during my late 20s provided me with increased financial capacity that made family assistance feel both manageable and appropriate, given my circumstances relative to other family members. My salary progression at the technology firm had been steady and substantial, reflecting both my competence in marketing strategy and my reliability as a team member who could be trusted with complex projects and challenging client relationships. However, my increased earning capacity also coincided with expanded expectations about my availability to provide financial support during family emergencies or special circumstances. When my father's company experienced layoffs that affected his department, I had volunteered to cover their mortgage payments for several months while he sought new employment. When Melissa decided to pursue additional graphic design certification that would enhance her professional credentials, I had offered to pay the tuition costs as an investment in her long-term career development. Each individual instance of financial assistance had been motivated by genuine care for my family's well-being and represented amounts that I could afford without compromising my own financial security. However, the accumulation of these contributions, combined with the gradual increase in frequency and scope of requests for assistance, had created a pattern where my financial resources were increasingly viewed as family assets rather than personal resources that I might choose to allocate according to my own priorities and goals. The emotional dimensions of these family financial dynamics were more complex and subtle than the simple monetary transactions might suggest. Each request for assistance was accompanied by expressions of gratitude and promises that the help was temporary, creating an atmosphere where declining to provide support would seem unreasonable or selfish, given my apparent capacity to help without significant personal sacrifice. Moreover, my identity within the family had gradually shifted from being one of two daughters who contributed to family harmony and success to being the family member whose reliability and resources made everyone else's goals and dreams more achievable. This transformation felt positive in many ways, as it reflected the genuine appreciation my family expressed for my contributions and the visible impact that my assistance had on their quality of life and opportunities. However, what I had not yet recognized was that this family role, while providing immediate satisfaction and reinforcing my sense of importance and value, was preventing me from developing and pursuing my own long-term goals and dreams. The financial resources that I devoted to family assistance represented not only current income, but also future opportunities for travel, education, home ownership, and retirement planning that I was inadvertently sacrificing to maintain family harmony and support. More concerning was the gradual realization that my relationships with family members were increasingly structured around their needs and challenges rather than mutual interest in each other's lives, goals, and experiences. Conversations with my parents often focused on their current concerns about Melissa's financial stability or requests for my perspective on family financial decisions. Conversations with Melissa typically centered on her current projects, relationship developments, or financial challenges, with limited space for discussion of my own professional achievements, personal interests, or future aspirations. The foundation of false security that I had constructed around my role as the family's financial problem solver and crisis manager was beginning to show subtle signs of instability, though I was not yet ready to acknowledge or address these warning signs. The satisfaction I derived from being helpful and reliable was genuine, and the gratitude expressed by family members reinforced my belief that my contributions were valuable and appreciated. However, the increasing frequency of requests for assistance and the gradual expansion of expectations about my availability and willingness to provide support were creating pressure that I was beginning to experience as stress rather than opportunity for meaningful contribution. The balance between my personal financial goals and family obligations was shifting in ways that limited my own options while expanding the choices available to other family members. The warning signs of unsustainable family financial dynamics were becoming more apparent to me during quiet moments when I reviewed my own budget and savings progress, noting that my ability to pursue personal goals was increasingly constrained by the predictable requests for family assistance that arrived with each passing month. Yet I continued to respond to these requests with automatic generosity, driven by love for my family and the belief that temporary sacrifices for their benefit represented the type of selfless service that defined good character and strong family relationships. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. What I did not yet understand was that my pattern of constant financial availability was preventing not only my own growth and development, but also the development of independence and problem-solving capabilities among the family members I was trying to help. True love and support, I would eventually learn, sometimes requires allowing people to face the consequences of their decisions and develop their own capabilities for managing challenges rather than consistently providing rescue that enables continued dependency. The stage was set for a confrontation that would force me to examine these family dynamics with brutal honesty and make decisions about boundaries that would fundamentally change how I understood love, loyalty, and my own responsibilities within family relationships. The foundation of false security that had structured my adult life was about to crumble, creating space for the possibility of healthier relationships built on mutual respect rather than financial dependency and crisis management. The autumn of my 30th year marked the beginning of what I would later recognize as the most intensive period of family financial management that had characterized my adult relationship with my parents and sister. The requests for assistance had evolved from occasional emergencies into a systematic pattern of dependency that structured not only my monthly budget planning, but also my emotional energy and available time for personal development and relationship building outside the family system. October brought the first in a series of financial challenges that would test my commitment to family support, while gradually revealing the extent to which my resources had become integral to everyone else's. Financial planning and lifestyle maintenance. My father called on a Tuesday evening, his voice carrying the familiar tone of concern that typically preceded requests for assistance with unexpected expenses that exceeded their monthly budget allocation. Rebecca, I hope you have a few minutes to discuss a situation that has developed with your mother's medical insurance coverage, he began, using the careful language that had become characteristic of family financial conversations. The insurance company has denied coverage for her recent diagnostic procedures, claiming that the tests were not medically necessary despite her physician's strong recommendation for comprehensive evaluation of her recurring symptoms. The ARS medical bills in question totaled nearly $4,000, representing charges for diagnostic imaging and laboratory work that had been recommended following my mother's complaints of persistent fatigue and joint pain that had been affecting her ability to maintain her usual work schedule at the accounting practice. The insurance denial was based on technical criteria that seemed to prioritize cost containment over patient care, creating a financial burden that exceeded my parents' available savings while potentially delaying necessary medical treatment. My immediate response was to offer assistance with the medical bills, understanding that my mother's health concerns required prompt attention regardless of insurance company policies or financial constraints. However, the conversation that followed revealed additional complexity in my parents' financial situation that suggested more systematic challenges beyond the immediate medical expenses. "We have been managing some cash flow difficulties with the accounting practice," my father explained, his tone reflecting the discomfort that discussions of financial vulnerability created for someone who had spent decades building financial security through careful planning and hard work. "Several major clients have delayed their payments beyond the usual terms, creating temporary challenges with our monthly expenses, while we wait for these outstanding invoices to be resolved." The accounting practice that my mother had built over 20 years served primarily small businesses and individual clients whose payment patterns could vary significantly based on their own financial circumstances and cash flow management. While the practice had historically provided steady income that supported my parents' comfortable lifestyle, the recent concentration of payment delays among several major clients had created unusual pressure on their monthly budget allocation. The combination of unexpected medical expenses and temporary income reduction created a financial challenge that exceeded my parents' immediate capacity to resolve through their existing savings and credit arrangements. Their request for assistance was presented as a temporary loan that would be repaid once the outstanding client payments were received, and the insurance coverage dispute was resolved through appeal processes. My decision to provide the requested assistance was motivated by genuine concern for my mother's health needs and understanding that the financial support would address immediate problems while allowing my parents to maintain their financial dignity and independence. The amount represented a significant portion of my own monthly discretionary income, but it remained within my capacity to provide without compromising my essential expenses or long-term financial security. However, the conversation also included discussion of additional family financial pressures that suggested my assistance might be needed for circumstances beyond the immediate medical and cash flow challenges. Melissa had recently experienced a significant reduction in her freelance graphic design income due to the loss of two major clients whose projects had been completed without immediate replacement work being secured to maintain her previous income level. "Your sister is exploring several promising opportunities for new client relationships," my mother explained. "But the transition period is creating stress about her ability to maintain her apartment lease and meet her monthly obligations. While she builds her client base back to sustainable levels, she has been reluctant to ask for help directly, but we thought you should be aware of her situation in case she needs temporary support during this challenging period." The information about Melissa's financial difficulties was presented as background context rather than an immediate request for assistance, but the implication was clear that family support might be necessary to help her navigate the transition period between client relationships. The timing of this disclosure, combined with the request for assistance with my parents' medical and cash flow challenges, created the impression that family financial stability depended increasingly on my ability to provide resources during multiple simultaneous difficulties. Within 2 weeks of my conversation with my father about the medical bills and accounting practice challenges, Melissa contacted me directly to discuss her client situation and explore options for temporary financial support that would allow her to maintain her living situation while pursuing new business development opportunities that required time and energy investment before generating income. "I hate having to ask for help," Melissa began, her voice reflecting genuine discomfort with the necessity of requesting financial assistance. "But I am caught between the need to dedicate time to building new client relationships and the reality that rent and utilities cannot wait for future income to materialize. I have enough savings to cover about 6 weeks of expenses, but I need at least 3 months to properly develop the client base that will provide sustainable income going forward." The amount Melissa requested was substantial, totaling nearly $3,000 to cover housing, utilities, and basic living expenses during the period when she would be focusing on business development rather than immediate income generation. Her plan for repayment was contingent on successfully securing new clients at income levels that would support both her monthly expenses and gradual repayment of family assistance over approximately 1 year. The logic of Melissa's request was reasonable, reflecting a strategic approach to business development that required short-term sacrifice for long-term stability and growth. However, the timing of her financial needs, combined with my parents' ongoing medical and cash flow challenges, created a situation where my monthly discretionary income was being allocated entirely to family assistance rather than personal savings, investment, or discretionary spending that might enhance my own quality of life or future opportunities. My decision to provide the requested assistance to Melissa was motivated by understanding that her freelance business model required flexibility and investment during transition periods, and that temporary family support could enable her to build sustainable income rather than forcing her to accept suboptimal client relationships due to immediate financial pressure. However, the cumulative impact of simultaneous family assistance requests was beginning to affect my own financial planning and goal achievement in ways that I was only beginning to recognize. The November rent payment for Melissa coincided with additional unexpected expenses that my parents encountered when their household air conditioning system required major repairs that exceeded their available emergency fund allocation. The timing of this mechanical failure, during a period when their cash flow was already constrained by client payment delays and medical expense obligations, created another request for family assistance that pushed my monthly family support obligations beyond what I had previously considered sustainable levels. "We have received estimates ranging from $2,800 to $3,500 for the necessary repairs," my father explained during our phone conversation about the air conditioning situation. "The system is 18 years old and requires replacement of major components that were not covered by our home warranty policy. Given our current cash flow situation, we would appreciate your assistance with these unexpected expenses, with repayment arranged according to your preferences and our improving financial situation." The air conditioning repair request represented the third significant family financial assistance obligation within 6 weeks, creating a cumulative impact on my budget that required me to delay my own planned expenses and adjust my savings goals to accommodate the family support requirements. The individual requests were reasonable and within my capacity to fulfill, but the combination created financial pressure that was beginning to affect my own lifestyle and future planning in ways that I had not anticipated. My apartment lease renewal was approaching, and I had been planning to move to a larger space that would provide room for a home office and better accommodate my professional development activities and personal interests. The monthly cost increase for improved housing would have been manageable within my original budget planning, but the cumulative family assistance obligations made the additional expense impractical without reducing other important personal expenditures. Similarly, I had been planning to pursue additional professional certification that would enhance my marketing expertise and career advancement opportunities. The certification program required both tuition payments and time investment that became difficult to justify when my financial resources were being directed toward family assistance, and my available time was increasingly consumed by family financial planning and crisis management conversations. The impact of increased family financial responsibilities extended beyond simple budget allocation to encompass emotional energy and mental focus that affected my professional performance and personal relationships. The stress of managing multiple family financial obligations, combined with the uncertainty about duration and eventual repayment of assistance provided, created chronic anxiety that affected my sleep quality, work concentration, and social engagement with friends and colleagues. December brought additional complexity when Melissa's client development efforts encountered unexpected challenges that delayed her projected income recovery timeline. Two potential clients that had seemed promising during initial conversations decided to postpone their projects due to their own budget constraints, while a third opportunity required additional portfolio development work that would extend the timeline before contract finalization and income generation could begin. I need to be honest with you about the reality that my income recovery is taking longer than I originally projected, Melissa explained during a conversation that I had been dreading since her client development efforts began. The market conditions are more challenging than I anticipated, and the clients are taking more time to make decisions about moving forward with design projects. I am confident that the opportunities will materialize, but the timeline has extended beyond my original 3-month projection. The extension of Melissa's financial assistance needs meant that my monthly budget would continue to be constrained by family support obligations for an indefinite period, with no clear timeline for return to the financial flexibility that had previously characterized my personal financial management. The uncertainty about duration of assistance created additional stress beyond the immediate budget impact, making long-term financial planning and goal setting increasingly difficult. The conversation with Melissa about extended assistance needs coincided with a request from my parents for additional help with medical expenses that had accumulated as my mother's diagnostic process continued beyond the initial testing that had been denied by insurance coverage. The follow-up appointments and specialized consultations recommended by her primary care physician were generating substantial out-of-pocket costs that exceeded their monthly healthcare budget allocation. The total medical expenses are approaching $8,000 when we include the ongoing diagnostic work and specialist consultations, my father explained. We are continuing to appeal the insurance coverage decisions, but the appeal process takes several months while the medical bills require immediate attention. We would appreciate whatever assistance you can provide while we work through the insurance and cash flow challenges. The request for additional medical expense assistance, combined with Melissa's extended timeline for financial independence, created a family support obligation that exceeded my monthly discretionary income and required me to begin using savings that had been allocated for my own emergency fund and future goals. The realization that I was depleting my personal financial security to maintain family financial stability created emotional stress that affected my overall well-being and life satisfaction in ways that extended far beyond simple monetary concerns. The systematic drain on my financial resources was accompanied by increasing demands on my time and emotional energy, as family financial planning and crisis management became central features of my weekly routine. Phone conversations with parents and sister about budget challenges, payment schedules, and financial planning consumed evenings and weekends that had previously been available for personal interests, professional development, and social relationships that contributed to my overall life satisfaction and mental health. The cumulative impact of months of intensive family financial support was beginning to affect my professional performance, as stress and distraction from family obligations influenced my focus and creativity during work hours. Projects that had previously energized and engaged me felt routine and burdensome as my mental energy was increasingly consumed by family financial management responsibilities that seemed to expand rather than resolve despite the substantial assistance I was providing. The blueprint of exhaustion that had developed around my role as family financial manager was creating unsustainable pressure that threatened both my immediate well-being and my long-term financial security and professional development. However, I continued to respond to family requests with automatic generosity, driven by love and the belief that temporary sacrifice for family benefit represented appropriate priority allocation and character development. Unaware that the patterns I was enabling would soon culminate in a betrayal that would force me to fundamentally reconsider my understanding of family loyalty and personal boundaries. The beginning of the new year provided an opportunity for comprehensive financial review that revealed the true magnitude of how family assistance obligations had transformed my personal financial landscape during the previous 12 months. The annual assessment of income allocation, savings progress, and goal achievement created a stark portrait of systematic resource redirection that had fundamentally altered my capacity for personal investment and future planning without my conscious recognition of the cumulative impact. Spreadsheet calculations confirmed that family financial assistance had consumed nearly 40% of my discretionary income throughout the previous year, representing a level of resource commitment that exceeded my mortgage payment, retirement contributions, and personal emergency fund allocations combined. The mathematical reality of this distribution challenged my assumptions about sustainable family support and forced recognition that my assistance patterns had evolved beyond occasional help into systematic subsidization of other people's lifestyle, choices, and financial management approaches. The documentation revealed specific categories of assistance that had become predictable monthly expenses rather than emergency interventions. Medical bill assistance for my parents had averaged $600 per month across the year, reflecting not only the initial insurance coverage disputes, but also ongoing costs associated with specialist consultations and prescription medications that exceeded their healthcare budget planning. The consistency of these medical assistance requests suggested structural challenges with their insurance coverage and healthcare cost management that extended beyond temporary difficulties. Housing assistance for Melissa had totaled over $8,000 during her extended client development period, encompassing not only basic rent and utility support, but also business development expenses, professional portfolio enhancement, costs, and living expenses that maintained her accustomed lifestyle during income transition periods. The scope of this assistance had expanded beyond basic survival needs to include discretionary expenses that preserved her social activities and professional networking opportunities. Additional categories of assistance included automotive repairs for both parents and sister, home maintenance expenses that exceeded my parents' planned budget allocations, professional development costs for Melissa's graphic design business, and emergency expenses that ranged from medical co-payments to technology replacement needs. The diversity and frequency of these assistance requests indicated that my financial resources had become integrated into family financial planning as available backup support for any expense category that challenged individual budget constraints. The opportunity cost analysis revealed even more concerning implications for my personal development and future security. The financial resources directed toward family assistance represented foregone investments in professional development, retirement savings acceleration, real estate investment opportunities, and personal experiences that would have enhanced my quality of life and long-term financial independence. The trade-offs had been invisible during individual assistance decisions, but became undeniably significant when evaluated comprehensively. Professional development opportunities that I had declined due to financial constraints included advanced marketing certification programs, industry conference attendance, and executive coaching services that would have enhanced my career advancement prospects and earning potential. The cumulative cost of these foregone investments in professional growth represented not only immediate expenses, but also future income potential that had been sacrificed to maintain family financial stability. Personal goal postponement had become a consistent pattern that reflected the systematic prioritization of family needs over individual aspirations. The apartment upgrade that would have provided workspace for freelance consulting projects had been indefinitely delayed, eliminating potential income sources that could have enhanced my overall financial capacity. Travel experiences that would have provided cultural enrichment and professional networking opportunities had been eliminated from budget consideration due to family assistance obligations. The emotional cost of chronic financial stress began manifesting in physical symptoms that affected my overall health and professional performance. Sleep disruption from anxiety about family financial management created fatigue that influenced my creativity and problem-solving capabilities during work hours. Digestive issues emerged from chronic stress about budget constraints and uncertainty about family assistance duration and scope. The physical manifestations of financial anxiety indicated that the cost of family support extended beyond monetary considerations to encompass health implications that could affect my long-term earning capacity and quality of life. Social relationship. Strain became apparent as friends and colleagues noticed changes in my availability and engagement levels that reflected the emotional energy consumed by family financial management responsibilities. Invitations to social events were increasingly declined due to budget constraints created by family assistance obligations. Professional networking opportunities were missed due to time and mental energy devoted to family crisis management and financial planning conversations. The comparison between my current lifestyle and previous years revealed gradual erosion of personal interests and activities that had previously contributed to my overall life satisfaction and mental health. Hobbies that required equipment investment or ongoing expenses had been eliminated from consideration. Educational opportunities for personal enrichment had been postponed indefinitely. The systematic reduction of personal fulfillment activities created emotional emptiness that affected my overall well-being and motivation for professional achievement. Relationship dynamics within the family had evolved in concerning directions that reflected the systematic nature of financial dependency patterns. Conversations with parents and sister increasingly focused on financial topics rather than mutual interest in personal development, professional achievements, or life experiences that would characterize healthy family relationships. My value within family interactions seemed increasingly measured by my capacity to provide resources and solutions, rather than appreciation for my individual personality, accomplishments, or perspectives. The predictability of assistance requests had created expectation patterns that eliminated gratitude and appreciation for support provided. Family members approached financial challenges with automatic assumptions about my availability and willingness to provide assistance rather than exploring alternative solutions or considering the impact on my personal financial planning. The transition from appreciation to expectation indicated that assistance patterns had created entitlement attitudes that transformed family relationships from mutual support systems into dependency arrangements. Communication patterns had shifted toward crisis management and problem-solving conversations that positioned me as the family financial consultant and emergency resource coordinator. Phone calls and family gatherings centered around current challenges, assistance needs, and planning, discussions that required my input and potential resource commitment. The absence of conversations about my personal goals, challenges, or achievements reflected the systematic redefinition of my role within family dynamics. Career advancement opportunities were being affected by the emotional and mental energy consumption associated with family financial management responsibilities. Project assignments that required creative thinking and strategic innovation felt routine and uninspiring when my cognitive resources were consistently directed toward family crisis management and financial planning. Professional relationships suffered from reduced networking and social engagement that would normally support career development and opportunity recognition. The delayed apartment upgrade had eliminated workspace options that would have enabled freelance consulting projects capable of generating additional income streams. The professional development postponement had prevented skill enhancement that would support promotion opportunities and salary advancement. The cumulative impact of career investment delays was creating professional stagnation that threatened my long-term earning capacity and job satisfaction. Financial planning analysis revealed troubling trends in savings accumulation and investment progress that threatened my retirement security and emergency preparedness. retirement account contributions, had been reduced to minimum employer matching levels to accommodate family assistance obligations. Emergency fund depletion had occurred during periods of intensive family support, eliminating the financial buffer that provided security during personal income disruption or unexpected expenses. Investment opportunities in real estate, continuing. Education and business development had been consistently postponed due to capital allocation toward family assistance rather than personal asset building. The compound interest implications of delayed investment indicated that current assistance patterns were sacrificing significant future wealth accumulation for temporary family convenience and lifestyle maintenance. The insurance and estate planning. Implications of chronic resource depletion included reduced capacity for adequate life insurance coverage, disability income protection, and long-term care planning that would protect my future financial independence. The systematic prioritization of family immediate needs over personal long-term security created vulnerability that could affect my ability to maintain independence during health challenges or economic uncertainty. The psychological impact of financial constraint and goal postponement was creating resentment and frustration that affected my overall life satisfaction and motivation for personal achievement. The recognition that individual sacrifices were enabling family members to avoid developing financial discipline and independence generated emotional conflict between love for family and concern about enabling destructive dependency patterns. The analysis of assistance request frequency and scope revealed concerning trends toward expansion rather than resolution of family financial challenges, despite substantial support provided. Medical expenses for parents continued increasing due to aging-related health concerns that were unlikely to diminish without systematic healthcare planning and insurance optimization. Melissa's business development challenges reflected market conditions and professional skill gaps that required addressing through strategic planning rather than continued financial subsidy. The realization that family assistance patterns were preventing rather than supporting long-term family financial health created ethical concerns about whether continued support was actually beneficial for anyone involved. Parents were not developing strategies for managing healthcare costs within their retirement income planning. Melissa was not being motivated to develop business strategies that would create sustainable income independence from family support. The comprehensive cost analysis revealed that compliance with family financial assistance expectations was systematically undermining both my personal financial security and the development of independence and responsibility among family members, who had learned to rely on my resources rather than developing their own capabilities for financial management and crisis resolution. The pattern had become destructive for everyone involved while creating the illusion of family support and financial stability. The recognition that genuine love and family loyalty might require establishing boundaries that forced everyone to develop sustainable financial independence rather than continued dependency created emotional turmoil that challenged my fundamental assumptions about family responsibility and personal sacrifice. The approaching crisis that would force these boundary decisions was already beginning to emerge through circumstances that would test my commitment to family harmony versus personal well-being and authentic long-term support for everyone involved. The foundation was being laid for a confrontation that would require choosing between maintaining familiar patterns of financial compliance and establishing boundaries that honored both my own needs and the genuine long-term well-being of family members who had learned to depend on my resources rather than developing their own capabilities for independence and responsibility. The spring season brought with it a series of family conversations that would crystallize my growing awareness of how thoroughly my identity within family dynamics had become defined by financial availability and crisis management capabilities. These discussions, which occurred during what should have been routine family interactions, revealed the extent to which my reputation for reliability had transformed from a positive character trait into a constraining expectation that limited my freedom to make independent decisions about resource allocation and personal priorities. The first indication of this shift occurred during a casual phone conversation with my mother about Easter celebration planning. What began as coordination about family gathering logistics quickly evolved into a detailed discussion of expenses associated with hosting the extended family dinner, including costs for catering, decorations, and special dietary accommodations for various relatives who would be attending the celebration at my parents' home. "We have been calculating the expenses for the Easter gathering," my mother explained, her tone carrying the familiar assumption that family event costs would be shared according to individual financial capacity rather than equal contribution from all participating family members. "The catering costs alone will exceed our planned budget for family celebrations, particularly given the number of relatives who have confirmed attendance and the special menu requirements that several family members have requested." The conversation that followed revealed systematic assumptions about my financial contribution to family events that had developed without explicit discussion or agreement. My parents had planned the Easter celebration with the expectation that I would provide substantial financial support for expenses that exceeded their entertainment budget, treating my resources as available backup funding for family activities that they wanted to host but could not entirely afford through their own financial allocation. The Easter dinner contribution request totaled nearly $1,200, representing costs for premium catering services, floral arrangements, and wine selection that would create an impressive celebration reflecting well on my parents' hospitality and family status within our extended community. The scope of expenses indicated that the event planning had been developed based on desired outcome rather than available budget, with the assumption that family financial assistance would bridge the gap between aspiration and individual financial capacity. My immediate response was to agree to provide the requested contribution, driven by understanding that family celebrations create important memories and strengthen relationships that justify temporary financial sacrifice. However, the conversation also included casual mentions of future family events that would require similar financial coordination, suggesting that my Easter contribution was establishing precedent for ongoing financial responsibility for family celebration expenses throughout the year. The pattern of assumption about my financial availability extended beyond special events to encompass routine family decisions that affected multiple household budgets. During the same conversation, my mother mentioned that Melissa had been invited to attend a professional conference in Denver that would provide valuable networking opportunities and skill development for her graphic design business, but the travel and conference expenses exceeded her current business development budget allocation. "Your sister is hesitant to decline this opportunity because the conference could significantly enhance her professional development and lead to new client relationships," my mother explained, presenting Melissa's conference attendance as a family investment decision rather than an individual business expense that should be evaluated according to available business resources and expected return on investment. The conference expenses totaled approximately $2,000 when including registration fees, travel costs, accommodation, and networking event participation. The financial assistance request was presented as temporary support for professional development that would ultimately benefit Melissa's long-term business success and financial independence, suggesting that family investment in her career advancement represented prudent resource allocation rather than continued subsidy of lifestyle choices that exceeded her independent financial capacity. The timing of multiple financial assistance requests during the same conversation illustrated how completely my family had integrated my resources into their planning processes. The Easter celebration contribution and Melissa's conference assistance represented combined expenses of over $3,000 during a single phone call, presented as family coordination rather than substantial financial obligation that would affect my personal budget allocation and savings goals for the current quarter. The psychological impact of simultaneous assistance requests created pressure that extended beyond simple monetary considerations to encompass expectations about my responsiveness and willingness to prioritize family needs over personal financial planning. The casual presentation of multiple assistance requirements suggested that declining to provide support would be interpreted as selfishness or lack of family commitment, rather than reasonable personal financial management and boundary establishment. The conference assistant's conversation revealed additional complexity in family expectations about my role in supporting Melissa's professional development. The networking opportunities and skill enhancement potential of the Denver conference were presented as family assets rather than individual business investments, creating the impression that my financial contribution represented shared investment in collective family success, rather than personal generosity toward my sisters. Independent career advancement. The following week brought confirmation that family expectations about my financial availability had become systematic assumptions that influenced decision-making across multiple household budgets. My father contacted me to discuss a home renovation project that my parents wanted to complete before hosting summer family gatherings, including kitchen updates and backyard landscaping improvements that would enhance their capacity for entertaining relatives and family friends throughout the warmer months. We have received estimates for the renovation work that exceed our available savings allocation for home improvement projects, my father explained, presenting the situation as a family planning challenge rather than a decision about whether to proceed with discretionary expenses that exceeded available individual resources. The contractors recommend completing the work during the spring season to ensure completion before summer entertainment season begins. But the timeline requires financial commitment before our planned budget allocation would be available. The renovation cost totaled nearly $15,000 for kitchen cabinet updates, appliance replacement, and landscaping installation that would create an attractive environment for family gatherings while increasing the property value of my parents' home. The scope of work reflected desired improvements rather than necessary maintenance, representing lifestyle enhancement choices that exceeded their immediate financial capacity, but could be justified as family investment in gathering spaces that would benefit everyone who participated in family celebrations. The presentation of renovation assistance as family coordination rather than individual financial request illustrated how thoroughly my financial resources had become integrated into extended family financial planning. The assumption that I would provide substantial assistance for discretionary home improvements that primarily benefited my parents' lifestyle preferences demonstrated the extent to which family members had learned to include my financial capacity in their decision-making processes without consulting my own priorities and goals. The renovation assistance request coincided with additional information about extended family financial challenges that suggested my reputation for reliability had spread beyond immediate family members to encompass expectations from relatives, who viewed me as the family's financial problem solver and resource coordinator. My aunt had contacted my mother to inquire about possible assistance with educational expenses for my cousin's college tuition, understanding that I had previously provided support for family educational investments and might be willing to extend similar assistance to extended family members. The pattern of expanding expectations beyond immediate family members created concerns about the sustainability and appropriate boundaries of family financial assistance. The progression from helping parents and sister with temporary challenges to being approached by extended relatives for educational funding suggested that my reputation for generosity was creating obligations that could extend indefinitely throughout the broader family network without clear limitations or criteria for assistance eligibility. The emotional weight of simultaneous assistance requests from multiple family members created anxiety that affected my professional focus and personal well-being in ways that extended beyond the financial impact of resource allocation. The pressure to respond positively to multiple assistance requests while maintaining my own financial stability required constant calculation and prioritization that consumed mental energy and emotional resources that should have been available for creative work and personal development activities. The spring season also brought recognition that family conversations with me had become predominantly focused on financial topics rather than mutual interest in personal experiences, professional achievements, or individual development that would characterize healthy family relationships. Phone calls and family visits centered around current assistance needs, future financial planning requirements, and coordination of expenses that required my input and potential resource commitment. The absence of conversations about my personal goals, professional challenges, or individual interests reflected the systematic redefinition of my role within family dynamics, from beloved daughter and sister to financial resource coordinator and crisis management specialist. The transformation felt gradual and natural during individual interactions, but became apparent when evaluated comprehensively across months of family communication patterns. Professional relationships began reflecting the stress and distraction created by intensive family financial management responsibilities. Colleagues noticed reduced engagement in creative projects and decreased enthusiasm for challenging assignments that had previously energized my work performance. The mental energy consumed by family financial planning and assistance coordination affected my capacity for innovative thinking and strategic problem-solving that had distinguished my professional contributions. The upcoming performance review period at my technology firm created additional pressure as I recognized that family financial obligations were affecting my professional development and career advancement prospects. The reduced focus and creative energy available for work projects threatened my reputation for excellence and reliability that had supported previous salary increases and promotion opportunities. The recognition that family assistance patterns were affecting my professional performance created ethical concerns about the sustainability of current financial support arrangements. The impact on my earning capacity and career advancement potential suggested that continued assistance at current levels might ultimately compromise my ability to provide meaningful support for anyone, including myself, during future challenges or opportunities that required financial resources and professional stability. The weight of family expectations was creating systematic pressure that affected every aspect of my personal and professional life, while preventing the development of independence and financial responsibility among family members who had learned to rely on my resources rather than developing their own capabilities for managing challenges and pursuing opportunities within their individual financial means. The spring season conversations had revealed the extent to which my reputation for reliability and financial availability had created expectations that constrained my freedom to make independent decisions about resource allocation, career development, and personal goal pursuit. The recognition that family love and appreciation seemed increasingly conditional on my continued financial availability created emotional conflict that challenged my fundamental assumptions about family relationships and personal responsibility. The stage was being set for confrontations that would force me to choose between maintaining family harmony through continued financial compliance and establishing boundaries that honored both my own well-being and the genuine long-term development of family members who needed to learn independence and self-reliance rather than continued dependency on my resources and crisis management capabilities. The approaching crisis would test whether family relationships could survive the establishment of healthy boundaries and whether my reputation for reliability could evolve from financial availability to authentic support that empowered rather than enabled continued dependency on resources and assistance that prevented everyone involved from reaching their full potential for independence and personal responsibility. The early summer months brought a convergence of financial pressures that would expose the fundamental instability of the family support system I had unknowingly constructed through years of generous assistance and crisis management. The simultaneous arrival of multiple emergency situations, each demanding immediate attention and substantial financial resources, created an impossible situation that forced me to confront the unsustainable nature of my role as the family's primary financial safety net and problem-solving coordinator. June began with an urgent phone call from my father regarding a significant automotive emergency that threatened to disrupt both my parents' work schedules and their ability to maintain the social commitments that were integral to my mother's accounting practice, client relationships. Their primary vehicle had suffered transmission failure that required either major repair work, costing approximately $4,000, or replacement with a reliable used vehicle that would provide dependable transportation for their professional and personal obligations. The automotive crisis occurred during a particularly challenging period for my mother's accounting practice, as several major clients had extended their payment schedules beyond normal terms while simultaneously requesting additional services. that required immediate attention and resource allocation. The timing of the vehicle emergency created compound pressure that threatened both their immediate transportation needs and their capacity to serve existing clients who expected reliable availability and professional service delivery. The mechanic has confirmed that the transmission damage is extensive and cannot be resolved through minor repairs, my father explained during our early morning conversation about the transportation crisis. The replacement cost would exceed the current value of the vehicle, making repair economically inadvisable. But purchasing replacement transportation requires financial resources that are not available within our current budget allocation due to the ongoing client payment delays and increased business expenses. The automotive emergency represented a legitimate crisis that required immediate resolution to prevent disruption of income-generating activities that supported my parents' household budget and long-term financial stability. However, the request for assistance arrived during the same week that I had committed to providing conference funding for Melissa and home renovation support for the Easter celebration expenses that had expanded beyond original cost estimates due to additional work requirements discovered during the initial phase of kitchen updates. The convergence of multiple assistance requests within a compressed time frame created financial pressure that exceeded my monthly discretionary income allocation and required accessing savings that had been designated for personal emergency fund maintenance and professional development investment. The realization that family assistance obligations were forcing me to compromise my own financial security created anxiety that affected my sleep quality and professional focus during a critical project period at work. The automotive assistance decision was complicated by additional information about extended timeline requirements for my parents' client payment recovery and the potential for additional business expenses that might necessitate further family support during the summer months. The accounting practice challenges reflected broader economic conditions that were affecting small business cash flow patterns throughout the Austin metropolitan area, suggesting that financial assistance needs might extend beyond the immediate transportation crisis. The same week brought unexpected developments in Melissa's professional situation that revealed concerning patterns in her business development approach and client relationship management that suggested more fundamental challenges than the temporary income fluctuation that had originally motivated family financial assistance. 2 clients who had committed to substantial graphic design projects had canceled their contracts due to budget revisions, while a 3rd client had requested significant scope changes that reduced the project value below sustainable profit margins. The client cancellations represent a substantial revenue loss that affects not only immediate income, but also the projected cash flow that was supporting my business development timeline and loan repayment planning, Melissa explained during a conversation that revealed the expanding scope of her financial challenges and the potential need for extended family assistance beyond the originally anticipated 3-month period. The graphic design business challenges reflected market conditions and competitive pressures that required strategic response through portfolio development, pricing structure revision, and client relationship management improvements rather than continued financial subsidy that enabled maintenance of current business approaches without addressing underlying sustainability issues. However, the immediate impact of client cancellations created cash flow pressure that threatened Melissa's housing stability and basic living expenses during the period required for business strategy adjustment. The timing of Melissa's expanded assistance needs coincided with my recognition that previous family financial support had not resulted in the independence development and problem-solving capability enhancement that had been anticipated when assistance was originally provided. The pattern of recurring crises and extended assistance timelines suggested that family financial help was preventing rather than supporting the development of sustainable independence and financial management skills among the people I was trying to assist. The professional development conference that I had funded for Melissa's business advancement had generated networking contacts and skill enhancement opportunities, but had not translated into immediate client acquisition or income stabilization that would support loan repayment or reduce dependency on family financial assistance. The conference investment represented substantial family resources that had produced educational benefits without corresponding business development outcomes that would justify the expense allocation. The convergence of automotive emergency, extended business assistance needs, and ongoing home renovation expenses created a financial commitment total that exceeded $15,000 during a single month, representing an assistance level that surpassed my annual vacation budget, professional development allocation, and discretionary spending combined. The mathematical reality of simultaneous assistance obligations forced recognition that family support patterns had evolved beyond sustainable levels without conscious decision-making about appropriate boundaries and resource allocation priorities. The emotional impact of impossible financial choices created stress symptoms that affected my physical health and professional performance in ways that threatened my long-term earning capacity and career advancement prospects. Sleep disruption. From anxiety about family financial management resulted in fatigue that influenced my creativity and problem-solving effectiveness during work hours, while digestive issues from chronic stress affected my overall energy levels and mental clarity. During important client presentations and project management responsibilities, the recognition that family assistance obligations were compromising my professional performance created ethical concerns about the sustainability of current support arrangements and the potential long-term consequences for everyone involved. If my career development was systematically undermined by family financial management responsibilities, the impact on my earning potential threatened my future capacity to provide meaningful assistance during genuine emergencies, while also compromising my personal financial security and retirement planning progress. The impossible choices created by simultaneous assistance requests forced me to prioritize among family members' needs in ways that felt uncomfortable and potentially damaging to family relationships, regardless of which assistance requests received priority allocation. The necessity of choosing between my parents' transportation emergency and Melissa's business crisis created emotional conflict that challenged my fundamental assumptions about family loyalty and equitable support distribution among people I loved equally. The decision-making process revealed concerning patterns in how family members approached financial challenges and assistance requests that suggested dependency attitudes rather than collaborative problem-solving approaches that would honor both individual responsibility and appropriate family support coordination. The automatic assumption that my financial resources would be available for multiple simultaneous crises indicated that family members had learned to rely on my assistance rather than developing alternative solutions or adjusting their expectations according to realistic resource availability. The pressure of impossible financial choices coincided with professional development opportunities at my technology firm that required immediate decision-making about conference attendance and certification program participation that would enhance my career advancement prospects and long-term earning potential. The timing of these opportunities during peak family assistance demands created additional stress about resource allocation between personal development investments and family support obligations. The Advanced Marketing Certification Program offered through my employer represented a career advancement opportunity that would enhance my professional credentials and qualification for senior management positions that offered substantial salary increases and expanded creative responsibilities. However, the program required tuition payment and time investment that became impractical when family assistance obligations consumed both financial resources and mental energy that should have been available for professional development activities. The certification program postponement represented foregone investment in capabilities that would increase my future earning potential and job satisfaction, while also expanding my capacity to provide meaningful family assistance during genuine emergencies through enhanced financial stability and professional security. The trade-off between immediate family assistance and long-term capability development illustrated how current support patterns were preventing optimal outcomes for everyone involved. The conference attendance opportunity provided networking and skill development benefits that would support creative project leadership and client relationship management advancement within my current position, while also creating professional connections that could facilitate future career opportunities and consulting income potential. However, the conference expenses and time commitment conflicted with family assistance obligations that had consumed my available discretionary resources and vacation time allocation. The recognition that family assistance patterns were preventing my participation in professional development opportunities that would benefit everyone's long-term interests created frustration that challenged my patience and willingness to continue current support arrangements without establishing clearer boundaries and expectations about assistance frequency, scope, and duration limitations that would preserve capacity for personal development and genuine emergency response capability. The summer months also brought awareness that family financial challenges were not resolving despite substantial assistance provided, but were instead expanding in scope and frequency as family members learned to rely on my intervention rather than developing independent problem-solving capabilities and financial management discipline that would support genuine long-term stability and success. The pattern suggested that continued assistance at current levels might be enabling dependency rather than supporting independence development. The realization that well-intentioned family assistance might be preventing rather than supporting the development of financial responsibility and crisis management capabilities among people I loved created emotional conflict between my desire to help and my growing recognition that continued rescue behavior might be harmful to everyone involved. The ethical implications of enabling dependency through excessive assistance challenged my fundamental assumptions about family loyalty and appropriate support provision. The foundation cracks in my family support system were becoming impossible to ignore, as the convergence of multiple simultaneous crises revealed the unsustainable nature of assistance patterns that had developed gradually over years of individual, reasonable decisions that had accumulated into an overwhelming burden that threatened both my personal well-being and my capacity to provide genuine help during future emergencies that might require substantial resources and emotional support. The approaching confrontation about assistance boundaries and family responsibility distribution would test whether family relationships could evolve toward mutual independence and collaboration, rather than continued dependency on my resources and crisis management capabilities, setting the stage for decisions that would fundamentally reshape family dynamics and personal development opportunities for everyone involved. The convergence of impossible financial demands during the summer months created the first genuine pause in my pattern of automatic assistance that had characterized my family relationships for over a decade. For the first time since establishing my professional career and financial independence, I found myself unable to immediately respond affirmatively to family assistance requests, not due to unwillingness to help, but due to the mathematical impossibility of providing meaningful support for multiple simultaneous crises without compromising my own financial stability and professional development opportunities. This forced pause created space for reflection that had been absent during years of reactive crisis management and immediate problem-solving responses. The necessity of choosing among competing family assistance priorities required me to examine my assumptions about family loyalty, personal responsibility, and the most effective approaches to supporting people I cared about while maintaining sustainable relationships that honored everyone's long-term development and independence. The first question that emerged during this period of enforced reflection concerned the actual effectiveness of financial assistance I had provided over previous years. The pattern of recurring crises and expanding assistance requests suggested that family financial challenges were not being resolved through my intervention, but were instead becoming more frequent and substantial as family members learned to rely on my resources rather than developing independent problem-solving capabilities and financial management disciplines. My parents' automotive emergency represented a legitimate transportation need that required immediate attention to maintain their professional activities and income generation. However, the crisis had developed because routine vehicle maintenance and replacement planning had been deferred in favor of discretionary expenses that enhanced their lifestyle, but compromised their preparation for predictable mechanical issues that affect all aging vehicles. The pattern suggested that assistance requests often resulted from choices to prioritize immediate gratification over long-term planning and financial responsibility. Similarly, Melissa's business development challenges reflected market conditions and competitive pressures that required strategic responses through professional development, pricing optimization, and client relationship management improvements rather than continued financial subsidy that enabled maintenance of current business approaches without addressing underlying sustainability concerns. The recurring nature of her income fluctuations suggested that business model adjustments were necessary, regardless of family financial support availability. The questioning process revealed concerning patterns in how family assistance requests were presented and justified that suggested manipulation tactics designed to create guilt and obligation rather than collaborative problem-solving approaches that respected both individual autonomy and appropriate family support boundaries. Assistance requests consistently emphasized urgency and crisis elements while minimizing discussion of alternative solutions or personal responsibility factors that contributed to financial challenges. The language used during assistance conversations reflected assumptions about my financial obligations and availability that had never been explicitly discussed or agreed upon through family planning processes. Phrases such as, "We need your help," and "You know we can count on you," created emotional pressure that discouraged examination of whether assistance was appropriate or beneficial for long-term family development and individual responsibility enhancement. The timing of assistance requests often coincided with periods when I had announced personal goals or professional opportunities that would require financial investment or time commitment, suggesting either unconscious sabotage of my individual development or conscious attempts to maintain dependency relationships that prevented my growth and independence from family crisis management responsibilities. The examination of family communication patterns revealed that conversations with parents and sister had become predominantly focused on their challenges, needs, and assistance requirements rather than mutual interest in personal development, professional achievements, or individual experiences that would characterize healthy family relationships built on reciprocal care and genuine curiosity about each other's lives and aspirations. The absence of family interest in my professional development, personal goals, or individual challenges indicated that my value within family dynamics had become narrowly defined by my capacity to provide resources and solutions rather than appreciation for my personality, accomplishments, or perspectives that would motivate genuine relationship investment beyond utility considerations. The recognition that family relationships had become primarily transactional rather than emotionally reciprocal created sadness and disappointment that challenged my fundamental assumptions about family love and loyalty. The realization that family members seemed most engaged and appreciative during periods when they needed assistance, while showing limited interest during times when I might benefit from emotional support or advice, indicated relationship imbalances that extended beyond financial considerations. The questioning process also revealed patterns in my own behavior that had contributed to the development of dependency relationships and crisis management expectations. My tendency to immediately offer solutions and financial assistance when family members expressed challenges had prevented them from developing independent problem-solving capabilities and financial planning disciplines that would support genuine long-term stability and success. The automatic nature of my assistance responses had eliminated opportunities for family members to explore alternative solutions, seek help from other resources, or experience the natural consequences of financial decisions that would provide learning opportunities and motivation for improved planning and responsibility development. My well-intentioned helpfulness had inadvertently prevented growth and independence development among people I was trying to support. The recognition that my assistance patterns might be enabling rather than empowering family members created ethical concerns about whether continued support at current levels represented genuine love and care or codependent behavior that served my need to feel important and needed while preventing authentic relationship development and individual responsibility enhancement. The summer period also brought professional opportunities that required immediate decision-making about career advancement investments that would enhance my long-term earning potential and job satisfaction while expanding my capacity to provide meaningful assistance during genuine emergencies through improved financial stability and professional security. The timing of these opportunities during peak family assistance demands created additional pressure about resource allocation between personal development and family support obligations. The senior marketing position opportunity at my technology firm represented career advancement that would increase my salary by approximately 30%, while providing creative leadership responsibilities and strategic project management experience that aligned with my professional interests and capabilities. However, accepting the promotion required commitment to additional training and travel that would reduce my availability for family crisis management and financial assistance coordination. The promotion decision forced examination of whether family assistance patterns were preventing my professional development in ways that ultimately compromised everyone's long-term interests by limiting my earning potential and career satisfaction, while maintaining dependency relationships that prevented family members from developing independent capabilities for financial management and crisis resolution. The Professional Development Certification Program, offered concurrent with the promotion opportunity, provided advanced marketing strategy credentials that would enhance my qualifications for senior management positions throughout the technology industry, while also creating consulting income potential that could supplement my primary employment earnings. However, the certification required tuition investment and study time commitment that conflicted with family assistance obligations and crisis management responsibilities. The certification program decision represented a choice between immediate family assistance availability and long-term capability development that would benefit both my professional advancement and my future capacity to provide meaningful support during genuine emergencies through enhanced financial stability and expanded career opportunities. The recognition that current family assistance patterns were preventing optimal outcomes for everyone involved by limiting my development while enabling continued dependency among family members created motivation for establishing boundaries that would support genuine long-term benefit rather than temporary crisis resolution that failed to address underlying challenges and responsibility development needs. The courage to question established patterns emerged gradually through the necessity of impossible choices rather than through sudden insight or dramatic revelation. The mathematical impossibility of providing assistance for multiple simultaneous crises forced examination of priorities and effectiveness that had been avoided during periods when assistance seemed manageable within available resources and time constraints. The questioning process revealed the extent to which guilt and obligation had replaced genuine choice and thoughtful consideration in my approach to family assistance decisions. The automatic nature of positive responses to assistance requests had eliminated evaluation of whether help was appropriate, beneficial, or sustainable within broader relationship and development contexts that honored everyone's long-term interests and capability enhancement. The development of questioning approaches required overcoming emotional resistance to disappointing family members who had learned to expect immediate assistance availability and positive responses to financial requests regardless of timing, scope, or impact on my personal development and financial planning. The fear of being perceived as selfish or uncaring had prevented examination of whether current assistance patterns actually demonstrated genuine love and support, or enabling behavior that prevented growth for everyone involved. The process of developing courage to question assistance requests and family expectations required distinguishing between legitimate emergencies that warranted immediate family support and manufactured crises that resulted from poor planning or unrealistic lifestyle expectations that exceeded individual financial capacity. The distinction required honest evaluation of circumstances and personal responsibility factors that contributed to financial challenges rather than automatic acceptance of crisis presentations that discouraged examination of underlying causes and alternative solutions. The questioning approach also required developing communication strategies that expressed care and concern for family members while establishing boundaries around assistance frequency, scope, and conditions that would support long-term development, rather than continued dependency. The challenge involved maintaining family relationships while transitioning from automatic assistance provider to collaborative problem-solving supporter who encouraged independence and responsibility development. The summer period of forced reflection and questioning established the foundation for boundary development and assistance approach modifications that would honor both genuine family loyalty and individual development needs that had been compromised through years of excessive helpfulness and crisis management responsibilities. The courage to question established patterns represented the beginning of transformation toward healthier family relationships built on mutual respect and appropriate support that empowered rather than enabled continued dependency and crisis generation. The late summer period marked the beginning of my deliberate transformation from automatic assistance provider to thoughtful boundary setter, a process that required both strategic planning and emotional fortitude as I navigated the complex challenge of maintaining genuine family relationships while establishing sustainable limits on financial support and crisis management responsibilities. The implementation of new approaches to family assistance required careful consideration of timing, communication strategies, and consistent follow-through that honored both my personal development needs and my authentic care for family members, who had grown accustomed to predictable resource availability. The first systematic boundary establishment occurred when my parents contacted me about additional home renovation expenses that had emerged during the kitchen update project, representing cost overruns that exceeded the original estimates by approximately $3,500 due to unexpected plumbing complications and electrical system updates that contractors deemed necessary for code compliance and long-term functionality. The request for assistance with renovation overruns provided an opportunity to implement new decision-making processes that prioritized thoughtful evaluation over immediate accommodation. Rather than automatically agreeing to provide the requested assistance, I responded with a request for detailed cost breakdown, timeline specifications, and exploration of alternative financing options that would enable my parents to complete the renovation without additional family financial support. The conversation that followed revealed important information about project planning approaches and financial management strategies that had not been apparent during initial assistance discussions. We had not anticipated the additional expenses. Because the initial contractor assessment did not include comprehensive evaluation of underlying systems that required updating to support the new kitchen configuration, my father explained during our discussion of renovation financing alternatives. The contractors recommend completing all necessary work simultaneously to avoid future disruption and additional labor costs, but the expanded scope exceeds our available savings allocation for home improvement projects. The renovation cost. Discussion provided opportunity to explore alternative approaches that would enable project completion while supporting my parents' development of independent problem-solving capabilities and financial planning strategies. Rather than immediately providing requested assistance, I suggested investigation of contractor payment plan options, home equity financing alternatives, and project scope modifications that would align expenses with available resources. The conversation about renovation financing represented a fundamental shift in my approach to family assistance, from immediate problem-solving to collaborative exploration of options that supported both immediate needs and long-term financial management. Capability development. The process required patience and persistence as my parents initially expressed disappointment with my reluctance to provide immediate financial support that would resolve the situation without requiring additional planning or alternative resource exploration. We had assumed that you would be able to assist with the additional expenses given your previous support for family projects and your current financial stability, my mother commented during our follow-up conversation about renovation financing options. The delay in receiving assistance creates pressure with contractors who expect timely payment and may increase overall project costs if work completion is postponed due to financial coordination challenges. The pressure tactics embedded in family conversations about assistance requests had become more apparent as I developed greater awareness of communication patterns designed to create guilt and urgency rather than collaborative problem-solving. Approaches that respected both individual autonomy and appropriate family support boundaries. The recognition of manipulation strategies strengthened my resolve to maintain new assistance approaches, despite emotional discomfort and family relationship tension. The renovation assistance conversation concluded with my parents exploring contractor payment plans and home equity credit options that enabled project completion without additional family financial support. The resolution demonstrated that alternative solutions were available when family members were motivated to investigate options beyond immediate assistance requests, validating my decision to encourage independent problem-solving rather than providing automatic financial rescue. The success of boundary implementation during the renovation assistance situation provided confidence for addressing subsequent assistance requests through collaborative problem-solving approaches rather than immediate accommodation that prevented development of independent financial management capabilities among family members. The process required consistent application of new decision-making criteria, despite emotional pressure and family relationship complications that emerged during the transition period. The second significant boundary establishment opportunity occurred when Melissa contacted me about additional business development expenses that had emerged as she attempted to recover from client cancellations and income disruption through expanded marketing efforts and portfolio enhancement activities. The business development assistance request totaled approximately $4,000 for professional photography, website redesign, and networking event participation that would enhance her competitive positioning within the graphic design market. The business development investments represent essential steps for recovering from recent client losses and building sustainable income that would support loan repayment and financial independence, Melissa explained during our conversation about her marketing strategy and resource requirements. The timing is critical because several potential clients have expressed interest in portfolio updates and professional presentation improvements that could lead to substantial contract opportunities. The business development assistance request provided opportunity to implement collaborative planning approaches that supported Melissa's professional advancement while encouraging development of business financial management capabilities that would reduce future dependency on family assistance for career-related expenses. Rather than immediately providing requested funding, I suggested exploration of business loan options, client payment acceleration strategies, and marketing approach modifications that would align expenses with available business resources. The conversation about business development financing revealed important information about Melissa's approach to professional planning and resource allocation that indicated opportunities for strategic guidance and mentorship rather than continued financial subsidy that enabled maintenance of current business practices without addressing underlying sustainability challenges. I had not considered business loan options because I assumed that family assistance would be more convenient and less complicated than formal financing arrangements, Melissa acknowledged during our discussion of alternative funding sources. The business development timeline pressure made immediate family assistance seem like the most practical solution for maintaining momentum with potential client opportunities. The business development assistance conversation provided opportunity to offer strategic advice and professional guidance that supported Melissa's career advancement while encouraging development of independent business financial management capabilities. The collaborative approach required more time and emotional investment than automatic financial assistance, but created opportunities for genuine support that empowered rather than enabled continued dependency. The process of transitioning from automatic assistance provider to collaborative advisor required developing new communication skills and emotional resilience that enabled maintenance of family relationships while implementing boundaries that served everyone's long-term development interests. The challenge involved expressing care and support through guidance and encouragement, rather than immediate financial rescue that prevented learning and capability development. The professional advancement opportunities at my technology firm provided additional motivation for boundary implementation as career development requirements conflicted with family crisis management responsibilities that had previously consumed substantial time and emotional energy. The senior marketing position acceptance required commitment to additional training and strategic project leadership that demanded focused attention and creative energy that had been diverted toward family financial planning and assistance coordination. The promotion acceptance decision represented a deliberate choice to prioritize professional development that would enhance my long-term earning potential and career satisfaction while expanding my future capacity to provide meaningful assistance during genuine emergencies through improved financial stability and professional security. The career advancement required establishing clearer boundaries around availability for family crisis management that had previously interrupted work focus and creative productivity. The Professional Development Certification Program enrollment provided concrete demonstration of resource allocation toward personal capability enhancement rather than continued family assistance that enabled dependency without addressing underlying challenges. The certification investment represented substantial financial commitment and study time allocation that had previously been directed toward family support obligations. The certification program participation required establishing specific study, schedules, and project deadlines that limited my availability for immediate family assistance responses that had characterized previous crisis management approaches. The structure provided legitimate framework for boundary establishment that honored both professional development needs and appropriate family relationship maintenance. The implementation of new assistance approaches required developing communication strategies that expressed genuine care and concern for family members, while establishing clear expectations about resource availability and decision-making processes that supported collaborative problem-solving rather than automatic accommodation of assistance requests, regardless of appropriateness or impact on personal development goals. The boundary establishment process revealed the extent to which family members had integrated my financial resources and crisis management availability into their planning processes without considering the impact on my personal development and financial security. The transition to collaborative assistance approaches created initial resistance and disappointment among family members who had grown comfortable with predictable resource availability. Your reluctance to provide immediate assistance creates additional stress during challenging periods when family support would be most beneficial and appreciated. My mother commented during a conversation about my modified approach to assistance requests. The delay and conditions associated with family help make the support feel less generous and caring than previous unconditional assistance that demonstrated genuine family loyalty and commitment. The criticism of boundary implementation reflected family members' preference for assistance approaches that prioritize their immediate convenience over long-term development and relationship sustainability that served everyone's authentic interests. The emotional pressure to return to previous assistance patterns required consistent commitment to new approaches despite temporary relationship tension and family disappointment. The autumn period brought evidence that boundary implementation was producing positive outcomes for both my personal development and family members' capability enhancement, as alternative solutions emerged when automatic assistance was not immediately available. My parents successfully arranged home equity financing for renovation completion, while Melissa secured business development funding through professional network connections that provided both financial resources and valuable mentor relationships. The success of alternative solutions demonstrated that family members possessed greater capability and resource access than had been apparent when automatic assistance prevented exploration of independent options. The boundary implementation had encouraged development of problem-solving skills and professional networks that supported genuine long-term success rather than continued dependency on family financial support. The recognition that family members were developing increased independence and capability through boundary implementation provided validation for continued commitment to collaborative assistance approaches, despite emotional challenges and relationship adjustments required during the transition period. The evidence suggested that modified assistance approaches were supporting genuine family development while preserving my capacity for meaningful support during legitimate emergencies. The architecture of change required consistent application of new principles, despite emotional pressure and family relationship complications that emerged during the transition from automatic assistance provider to collaborative boundary setter, who supported development while maintaining authentic care and family connection. The first week of October brought a convergence of circumstances that would test every principle and boundary I had worked to establish throughout the summer months. of careful transformation from automatic assistance provider to thoughtful family supporter. The events that unfolded during this critical period would ultimately reveal the true nature of family relationships I had been nurturing through years of financial support and crisis management, while also demonstrating whether my commitment to healthy boundaries could withstand the intense pressure of a genuine family emergency combined with significant personal opportunity. The professional opportunity that emerged during this period represented the culmination of months of strategic career development and boundary establishment that had created space for focused attention on advancement possibilities. The technology firm where I had built my marketing expertise announced the creation of a new regional director position that would oversee marketing strategy for the entire Southwest Division, encompassing operations in Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, and Colorado, with headquarters coordination responsibilities that would substantially advance my professional trajectory. The regional director position offered compensation increases of approximately 60% above my current salary level, along with comprehensive benefits enhancement, profit-sharing participation, and stock option allocations that would significantly accelerate my long-term financial security and retirement planning progress. More importantly, the role provided creative leadership opportunities and strategic decision-making authority that aligned perfectly with my professional interests and career development aspirations. However, the position also required relocation to Denver, Colorado, for a minimum commitment period of 3 years, with extensive travel throughout the Southwest region that would dramatically reduce my availability for family crisis management and immediate assistance provision. The timing and requirements of this career opportunity would test whether family relationships could adapt to my professional advancement or whether resistance would emerge that prioritized family convenience over my individual development and long-term success. The regional director opportunity had emerged partially due to the professional development investments and boundary establishment that had enabled focused attention on career advancement rather than constant family crisis management. The certification, program completion, and senior marketing position performance had created visibility and credibility that positioned me as an ideal candidate for expanded leadership responsibilities within the technology industry. The application and interview process for the regional director position required complete confidentiality due to competitive considerations and organizational restructuring sensitivity that prohibited discussion with family members who had grown accustomed to involvement in my professional decision-making processes. The necessity of independent evaluation and commitment represented a fundamental shift toward autonomous professional development that honored my individual aspirations rather than family preferences and convenience considerations. The same week that I was completing final interviews for the regional director position, Melissa contacted me about what she described as the most significant business opportunity of her professional career, involving a potential client relationship with a major Austin-based corporation that required substantial portfolio enhancement and marketing material development to secure the contract successfully. The business development opportunity represented potential income that would establish her financial independence while requiring immediate investment that exceeded her available business resources. The corporate client opportunity could transform my entire business trajectory and provide sustainable income that would eliminate future assistance needs, Melissa explained during our conversation about the business development requirements. However, the proposal development and portfolio enhancement requirements demand immediate financial investment of approximately $8,000 for professional photography, graphic design software upgrades, and presentation material, development that would demonstrate capability for handling large-scale corporate projects. The timing of Melissa's business opportunity during my own career advancement process created complex dynamics around resource allocation and family support priorities that tested my commitment to collaborative assistance approaches versus automatic financial provision that would resolve immediate challenges without encouraging independent capability development. The substantial investment requirement exceeded my previous assistance amounts, while coinciding with professional decisions that, would affect my long-term availability for family support coordination. The business development assistance conversation revealed additional complexity when Melissa disclosed that the corporate client opportunity had emerged through networking connections developed during the professional conference that I had funded earlier in the year, suggesting that previous family investments were beginning to generate positive returns while also creating expectations for continued substantial support during opportunity capitalization periods. The conference networking contacts led directly to this corporate client opportunity, demonstrating that family investment in professional development creates benefits that justify continued support during critical advancement periods, Melissa argued during our discussion of business development financing alternatives. The timing requires immediate decision-making and resource commitment to capitalize on relationship momentum and competitive positioning before other graphic designers can secure similar opportunities. The corporate client opportunity discussion coincided with an urgent phone call from my father regarding a medical emergency that had developed with my mother's ongoing health concerns, requiring immediate specialist consultation and diagnostic procedures that exceeded their available healthcare savings and created substantial financial pressure during an already challenging period with the accounting practice cash flow difficulties. Your mother's medical situation has become more serious than we initially anticipated, requiring immediate specialist attention and comprehensive diagnostic evaluation that our current insurance coverage will not adequately support, my father explained during the emergency phone call that interrupted my preparation for the final regional director interview. The specialist consultations and testing procedures will cost approximately $12,000 beyond our available healthcare budget allocation, creating emergency assistance needs during a period when delaying treatment could compromise her long-term health outcomes. The medical emergency represented a legitimate family crisis that warranted serious consideration for substantial assistance, despite my recent boundary establishment and collaborative assistance approach development. The health implications created, ethical dimensions that distinguish this situation from previous assistance requests, related to lifestyle enhancement or business development opportunities that involved discretionary rather than essential needs. However, the timing of the medical emergency during my regional director opportunity evaluation created impossible choices between family crisis response and professional advancement that tested whether I could maintain career development priorities while providing appropriate family support during genuine emergencies. The convergence of circumstances required decision-making that honored both authentic family loyalty and individual professional development without compromising either commitment. Inappropriately, the medical assistance decision was complicated by additional information about the scope and timeline of treatment requirements that suggested ongoing financial obligations extending beyond immediate diagnostic procedures into potential treatment. Protocols that could require sustained family financial support during a period when my career advancement would reduce availability and local presence for crisis management coordination. The specialist evaluation may lead to treatment recommendations that require ongoing financial support beyond the immediate diagnostic expenses, my father acknowledged during our conversation about medical assistance planning. The uncertainty about treatment scope and duration creates challenges for financial planning, but delaying diagnostic evaluation could compromise treatment effectiveness and create more substantial future expenses if early intervention opportunities are missed. The regional director position decision deadline coincided exactly with the medical assistance and business development support requests, creating a compressed time frame for evaluation that prohibited extensive deliberation about optimal resource allocation and family support strategies. The professional opportunity required immediate commitment, while family assistance needs demanded substantial financial resources and emotional attention that could affect my interview performance and career advancement prospects. The convergence of professional opportunity and family assistance demands revealed the extent to which boundary establishment had created space for individual development, while also testing whether family relationships could adapt to modified support arrangements that honored both genuine emergency needs and appropriate professional advancement priorities. The situation demanded integration of collaborative assistance principles with authentic family loyalty during circumstances that challenged both commitments simultaneously. The decision-making process required evaluation of long-term implications for both family support capacity and individual professional development that would serve everyone's authentic interests rather than immediate convenience or familiar assistance patterns. The regional director position would substantially enhance my future earning potential and financial security, while reducing immediate availability for family crisis management that had characterized previous relationship dynamics. The medical emergency assistance decision represented an opportunity to demonstrate that boundary establishment did not eliminate family support during genuine crises, but rather created sustainable approaches that distinguished between essential needs and discretionary assistance requests that had previously consumed resources indiscriminately. The healthcare situation warranted serious consideration despite timing complications with professional advancement opportunities. The business development assistance request from Melissa required evaluation of whether continued substantial financial support represented genuine investment in her professional advancement or enabling behavior that prevented development of independent business financial management capabilities. The corporate client opportunity appeared legitimate, while also testing whether collaborative assistance approaches could accommodate substantial investment requirements during critical advancement. Periods. The complexity of simultaneous decision-making about professional advancement and family assistance created emotional pressure that tested my commitment to thoughtful evaluation versus reactive accommodation that had characterized previous crisis management approaches. The situation required integration of boundary principles with authentic care and family loyalty that honored both individual development and genuine emergency support needs. The moment of truth had arrived through circumstances that demanded demonstration of whether months of boundary development and collaborative assistance transformation could withstand the pressure of competing demands that challenged both family loyalty and professional advancement commitments. The resolution would determine whether healthy relationship foundations could support both individual development and appropriate family support during legitimate emergencies. The decision-making process would reveal the true nature of family relationships and whether modifications toward collaborative assistance and boundary establishment had created sustainable foundations for mutual support that empowered rather than enabled continued dependency while preserving authentic care and connection during circumstances that tested everyone's commitment to healthy relationship dynamics and individual development priorities. The implementation of my decision to accept the regional director position while establishing clear parameters around family assistance during the current crisis period triggered immediate and coordinated resistance from family members who had grown comfortable with unlimited access to my financial resources and crisis management capabilities. The reaction to my professional advancement and modified assistance approach revealed manipulation tactics and emotional pressure strategies that had been subtly present throughout our family relationships, but became explicit when my boundaries threatened their established dependency patterns. The announcement of my career advancement and relocation timeline during a family conference call, designed to coordinate assistance for my mother's medical expenses and Melissa's business opportunity, created immediate tension that escalated into accusations of selfishness and abandonment that challenged my fundamental understanding of family loyalty and mutual support. The response demonstrated how thoroughly my family had integrated my resources and availability into their planning processes without consideration for my individual development or long-term well-being. Your decision to relocate during a family medical crisis demonstrates a concerning shift in priorities that suggests you value professional advancement over family responsibility and loyalty, my mother stated during the conference call, her tone carrying disappointment and hurt that felt designed to create guilt about pursuing opportunities that would reduce my immediate availability for family assistance coordination. The medical crisis timing argument represented a manipulation strategy that positioned my career advancement as deliberate abandonment during emergency circumstances rather than recognition that professional opportunities operate according to organizational timelines that cannot accommodate family convenience preferences. The framing attempted to create false choice between family loyalty and individual development that would force abandonment of career advancement to demonstrate appropriate family commitment. My father reinforced the manipulation approach by emphasizing the financial implications of reduced assistance availability during a period when medical expenses and business development opportunities required substantial family financial coordination. His comments suggested that my professional advancement represented betrayal of family financial planning that had assumed continued access to my resources regardless of my individual goals and development priorities. We had anticipated that your financial stability and earning capacity would continue supporting family assistance needs, while your career advancement actually enhanced your ability to provide meaningful help during challenging periods, my father explained, revealing assumptions about resource allocation that positioned my professional success as family asset rather than individual achievement that supported my personal development and long-term security. The family conversation revealed systematic expectations about my earning capacity and resource allocation that had never been explicitly discussed or agreed upon through collaborative planning processes. The automatic assumption that increased income would translate into expanded family assistance demonstrated how thoroughly my financial resources had been integrated into family planning without consideration for my personal financial goals and retirement security requirements. Melissa's contribution to the resistance strategy focused on the business development opportunity timing and the potential lost income that could result from delayed assistance during critical client development periods. Her argument positioned my boundary establishment as sabotage of her professional advancement rather than encouragement for independent business financing and capability development that would support genuine long-term success. The corporate client opportunity represents potential transformation of my entire business model and financial independence. But the timing requires immediate investment that cannot wait for alternative financing arrangements without risking relationship momentum and competitive positioning, Melissa argued, creating urgency pressure designed to override collaborative assistance approaches that encouraged exploration of business loan options and independent resource development. The business opportunity urgency argument reflected familiar patterns where poor planning and unrealistic timeline expectations became family emergency situations that demanded immediate assistance without consideration for alternative solutions, or personal responsibility factors that contributed to financial pressure. The manipulation involved presenting discretionary business development as emergency situation that warranted priority over my professional advancement and boundary maintenance. The resistance escalated when family members began contacting my professional references and networking contacts to express concerns about my career decision-making and family responsibility priorities. The interference attempts represented boundary violations that extended family manipulation tactics into my professional relationships and career development coordination in ways that threatened both my advancement opportunities and professional reputation within the technology industry. Your aunt called my office yesterday asking about your employment situation and expressing concern about your availability for family responsibilities, my supervisor mentioned during a confidential conversation about the regional director position transition timeline. I assured her that your professional performance and advancement are based entirely on merit and capability demonstration, but the family contact created awkward situation that required careful handling to maintain appropriate professional boundaries. The professional interference represented escalation of manipulation tactics beyond family relationship pressure into direct sabotage attempts designed to create consequences for boundary establishment that would force abandonment of career advancement and return to previous unlimited assistance availability. The strategy demonstrated the extent to which family members prioritized their convenience over my professional development and long-term success. The manipulation tactics expanded to include extended family member involvement who contacted me with messages of disappointment and concern about my apparent abandonment of family values and responsibility during challenging periods. The orchestrated pressure campaign suggested coordination among family members to create maximum guilt and emotional pressure that would override my commitment to professional advancement and boundary maintenance. Your cousin called to express concern about your mother's medical situation and your decision to prioritize career advancement over family assistance during emergency circumstances. My aunt explained during a phone conversation that felt designed to reinforce guilt about pursuing professional opportunities. She mentioned that your relocation would eliminate immediate family support availability and create additional stress during already challenging medical treatment periods. The extended family pressure campaign revealed how information about my boundary establishment and career advancement had been presented to relatives who lacked complete context about assistance patterns and family relationship dynamics that had motivated necessary changes in support approaches. The selective information sharing created coalition building against my professional development that positioned career advancement as betrayal rather than healthy boundary establishment. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.